like I said, I'm gonna go over a few things that we didn't go over in our first session at 1 o'clock. The first thing we're gonna talk about is gloves, because as you can see, I didn't wear gloves the first time I was mixing my dye. So we're gonna make sure we have our gloves this time to ensure that doesn't happen again. And it's really hot here, and I'm in Wagon Wheel at Camp Butterworth. So if you've ever been to Butterworth, you might recognize Wagon Wheel. All right, so now that I have my gloves on, we're gonna mix. I've already mixed a few colors, but I'm gonna show you how to mix dye in the event that you didn't see the first one. So we have a little bottle for our tie-dye. I've got, I'd say probably about half a cup of water for this. It doesn't really take a whole lot because the color I'm going to make is kind of dark. I have a teaspoon. You can use a teaspoon or a plastic spoon, whatever you'd like to use. I have, what was my color? I have Kelly Green. So I've got Kelly Green to use today. Since it is a darker color, I'm only gonna use about half of my teaspoon here because it's kind of a darker color. Some colors, depending on what it is, may need more dye. If it's a darker color, it may need less dye. So just kind of be watching that. So I'm going to, you can use a funnel or you can just kind of try to get it in there. Hello, Teresa, or Mama Hippo as I call you. So now we have our dye in there. You can see that it's kind of getting really green. And with the brand that we're using today, it is kind of more like a professional dye. So we actually use what's called urea, and that kind of helps the color to stay more vibrant and to actually soak into the shirt. So I'm gonna use about a teaspoon of that. If you have a home kit, you may not need to add those items. All right, so then we're gonna put our lid on there. We're gonna give it a good shake. All right, so I've got my Kelly Green made and ready. If you are using this brand, I suggest that you shake it until all the little urea is mixed in, just so that way you can ensure that you get a nice even color. And this is why we wear gloves, just reminding. All right, so since I am inside, I do have a drop cloth down on the table. So I have a drop cloth down, so that way you can do it inside. Typically we do it outside. It's really windy here today, so you really couldn't hear me. So we went ahead and did it inside. So just make sure that if you are inside, you're being cautious of what you're tie-dyeing on. So I kind of went ahead and prepped one shirt. I suggest that you soak the soak for about 10-15 minutes in water, just to make sure that it's nice and wet, so that way when you start putting the dyes in, that it really gets into the shirt. When you do pull it out of the water, make sure that you make sure that you wring it out pretty well. I'm gonna show over here. Just make sure that you wring it out pretty well. Make sure all the excess water is off. We don't want to have a whole bunch of water, so it might drip a little bit, but we don't want it to be just soaking wet. So that's what you should aim for if you are tie-dyeing. All right, so then I'm gonna show you one of my personal favorite designs, which is the heart tie-dye. So what I do, you can kind of freehand a heart if you'd like on the shirt, or you can use a pattern. I cut out a little pattern because my drawing skills aren't the greatest. So I went ahead and cut out a little heart, half of a heart to start my design. So what we're gonna do, can you show the shirt? So if you do a pattern, you're gonna lay it down on the shirt and use like I used a light colored marker to trace around my design. So we should have half of a heart. Our shirt here is folded in half. I think they call this hot dog style in kindergarten. I'm not 100% sure, I can't remember. We're gonna go ahead and draw half of our heart on there. And then this is where it kind of gets a little bit tricky. So what we're gonna do is we're going to do like pleats. So this is not gonna work with my huge gloves here, so we'll put those back on in just a second. But so what we're gonna do is we're going to pleat on the line that we drew for our heart. So we're gonna kind of pull it up, and we're gonna try to keep the lines together here. So we're gonna try to make like one big straight line as we pull up our pleats to our heart. So we're gonna keep going until we get all the way through our heart. So once you get up towards the top, it's kind of hard to, so just keep moving the shirt. All right, so then this is what it should look like. You should kind of see see the line of where the heart that you drew. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna get a rubber band, and you're gonna band that right there on that line. For this one, I suggest making sure the rubber band is pretty tight, so that way that heart shape stays. And you don't have it bleeding through the shirt. So that way, so this would be our heart. And then if you wanted to, I mean, you could just do one color, but if you wanted to do a couple colors, you could just continue the pleats out. So kind of see how it's got these, as it's already kind of got the pleats that we've made first. So you would just pick those up and do like what we did with the heart, or with the line on the heart, and you would just keep pleating. And then you would place another rubber band. So I could place another one out here. And again, I would suggest making sure it's pretty tight so that you get the effect that we're going for. And then again, you could keep going if you wanted to go out maybe a little bit further this time. You could keep going, placing another rubber band, and then if you did different colors on each section, then you'd have a nice different layout of hearts in different colors. So that is one of my personal favorites because it's a really cool design, and you don't see a lot of it, so I do like, that is one of my favorites. My next one, I have a scarf that I've been wanting to tie for a really long time. So I have a scarf here, and one of my other favorite is, it's called like a crumble. So there's a couple different ways you can do. Talking about the crumble effect, I've seen people do it with ice, and it creates like a really cool effect. So the crumble, I'm gonna turn my camera around so you can see. So the crumble, what I would do is I would just take this and I would just kind of like scrunch it, like you're kind of scrunching it down a little bit. And then I would just put my dye on it. So then I would just kind of sprinkle some dye on it, and then I would move this to a bag very carefully so that way it kind of stays crumbled. You can put rubber bands if you'd like on it. If you put some rubber bands, then it would have like some lines going through it, and it would look kind of cool too. So that's another option. One of the next ones that I want to show you is really cool. It's Chevron. So there's in the first video we talked about how to do like straight up and down lines, or horizontal lines, or diagonal lines, I believe we talked about too. So I'm going to talk about Chevron because I think it's a really cool design. So I'm going to flip my camera around here. So we're going to lay out my shirt. Peep the snake kind of chilling in the background. So I'm sure if there are girls watching, I'm sure they're pretty happy that they're not at camp where the snake is chilling. But anyways, so actually I flipped this the wrong way. So we're going to lay our shirt down, face down. Okay, so again, this is going to create a chevron look. So we're going to lay it face down, just out and about. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fold it kind of in half here. Okay, so we're going to kind of fold it like that. And then we're going to fold this. We're going to fold this down. Okay, so we're going to fold our pocket, or not our pocket, I'm sorry, that's a sleeve. So we're going to fold it like that. And then we're going to very carefully, I'm going to set this down. We're going to very carefully turn it over to the front. All right, so now we're back on the front, so we can see the front of the shirt here. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold it in half again. So all we did was just fold it in half, and then fold that sleeve back. So then it should look like this. So then from here I would take my light marker and I would draw horizontal lines, or if you, not horizontal, I'm so sorry. Those are diagonal lines. So I would draw diagonal lines on the shirt. I would draw those, and that's where I would put my rubber bands. So if you don't want to draw, if you don't have like a light colored marker, you could just put rubber bands and kind of put them at a diagonal so that you get that chevron look, and then you would just put the colors that you wanted. So kind of, let me put the rubber band here and show you what the rubber band should look like on the shirt here. So you'd want to put it to where it was kind of making sure that it stays kind of at a diagonal, so that way that creates that chevron look. They're really great these are really great designs for girls that have tie-dyed a lot and maybe have a lot of swirls, or some of the other bullseye ones, so ones that have a lot of different, or have a lot of the same ones. So this kind of steps outside of that. Like really cool if they don't like these and they really like the swirl, you can mix it up a little bit by actually twisting, just taking the shirt and folding it in half and then twisting it, and then rolling it into a swirl and then coloring it that way. So that kind of changes up the swirl to ensure that it, so I'm going to grab my scarf again, and I'm going to show you how to put some dye on the shirt to kind of show you what you're looking for when you're putting the tie-dye on. So give me just a second, let me grab that, and we'll show you how to do that. And I'm going to put my gloves on so that way I don't get any worse. I don't think my daytime job is going to like this too much tomorrow. But that's okay. So I'm going to put my gloves on. Give me just a second. These gloves aren't allowing me to switch the cameras on my phone, so it's going to be kind of interesting to show you. So I have my scarf. Let me see. Okay. So I have my scarf, so I'm going to do the crumple because I think it would be really cool on this scarf. So I'm going to just kind of crumple it up here a little bit. I already got some green on it. That's okay, because I'm gonna put some more green on it. So we're just gonna kind of crumple that up. All right, and I've got a little bit of, this is Kelly green, the one that we just mixed up. So I'm going to put a little bit of that. And the goal is to, when we do this, we want to be able to see it saturate the item that we're tie-dyeing, but we don't want to put to where it's dripping in color. If it's dripping, then when you go to wash it out, there's a good chance that it'll turn brown. So we want to kind of avoid that. So we just kind of want to put enough to really get into the item and make the color, but not to drench it. So then I have a little bit of blue I'm going to add. And again, reason why I have the drop cloth is because, as you can see, I'm already leaking through. It's going to leak through a little bit. I'm going to add some purple. Okay, so then what we would do is I'm going to kind of scrunch it up a little bit, so that way I kind of get that scrunchy look that I want. And then I'm going to grab a bag with my gloves on. I'm going to make sure that I have my gloves on, because when I pick this up, it's going to have dye all over it. So I want to make sure that I pick it up with my gloves, and I'm going to stick it in the bag here. Maybe if I can open the bag. Maybe. My bag's not opening. All right. So we're going to stick that in my bag. And I suggest leaving it in the bag for at least 24 hours. So that way the dye can have time to just really soak in there. Like I said, the dye gets in there pretty quickly, but we want to make sure that the colors stay vibrant. So I would just zip up your Ziploc bag and let it sit for about 24 to 48 hours, depending on how long you can get sometimes the girls to wait, because I understand I want to wash this out quickly. And then when you do wash it out, I don't have one ready, but when you wash it out, just make sure that you really get the color out, starting with the lightest color first. So typically, like if you use like yellow, I would say start with the yellow section first, and then kind of move on to your darker colors and kind of keep that yellow away from the darker colors, or else the darker colors are just going to wash over that yellow. So then once you get it rinsed out, just make sure that the water that is going through your tie-dye is running clear. It may not run all the way clear, but just get it as clear as possible, because when you put it in the washer, it'll get the rest of that off. However, you don't want a colorful washer, so just make sure you get off as much as possible, so you don't have that, you don't have a tie-dyed washer. And then just make sure that you, I would say wash it by itself first, but then maybe as you go through the like washing process, wash it 1 or 2 times by itself before I put it with anything else.